This is the Waco YMF5 by Carenado. This is not the original Waco. This is based on the 1934 Waco by the Weaver Aircraft Company. The original aircraft was originally built in Troy, Ohio, and has a 300 horsepower radial fixed pitch engine with a wooden propeller. This aircraft was introduced in 1986, and the YMF-5's 300 horsepower engine can pull the aircraft through the air at an astonishing 115 miles per hour. The aircraft has a range of 432 nautical miles. Let me back up to the thing I said about the speed, 115 miles per hour. Okay, that's not astonishing, but people don't buy these airplanes for speed in real life. I mean, just look at it. That's why they buy it. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted it as soon as I saw that Carenado was making it for Flight Sim 2020. In real life, I've been flying business jets for the last 15 years. And even though it's fun to fly jet airplanes through the air at 500 miles per hour, another thing that's always been fun and exciting to me is old airplanes. I love aviation and I love history, so without a doubt, this airplane would right up my alley. So let's get to it. Let's review the Waco YMF5 by Carenado. The first thing I had to do with this was shut the engine off and restart it. And that's the reason right there. I wanted to make sure that it sounded like a radial engine. Yep, it sure does. And it does have the typical 1980s avionics. And the Waco does have 2 navigation and 2 communication radios on the bottom right. It also has a transponder and a DME. You can also see it has the basic 6 instruments. It also has a G meter, manifold pressure gauge, and RPM. There's also an outside air temperature gauge underneath the clock, and on the bottom left there's a carburetor air temperature gauge as well. The circuit breaker panel does not work. Although there is a circuit breaker labeled Trilogy. If anybody knows what that is, please let me know. There's a fuel computer showing fuel used, fuel remaining, hours and minutes remaining, so that'd be 2 hours and 10 minutes. Then these last 2 didn't do anything. And the top number, the 14.7, shows us our current fuel flow. I do have the power up, so that's current fuel flow of 14.7 gallons per hour. The magnetos do work as expected. The navigation and communication radios are also very easy to use, as they are in other Carenado aircraft. And the YMF-5 is also equipped with landing lights, strobe lights, pitot heat, and other lights. It does have panel lights. They do work. I did try them out at night, and I'll show those here in a few minutes. And to the left of the transponder, you can see the EGT and cylinder head temperature gauges. I was excited when I saw the smoke switch below the oil temperature gauge. I was hoping it would work. I was excited when I saw this switch. I clicked it a few times, took the airplane up into the air, and hoped to see smoke. And no smoke. But that's okay. In real life, the jets I fly, we make contrails. I can't see those either, and I'm fine with it. So this is kind of the same thing. The Waco does have an animated trim wheel, and also you can see the trim position moving nose down and nose up as the trim wheel is moved. Carenado even added the placards to the cockpit. Carenado even added an airworthiness certificate that expires in 2022. So everybody remember, in 2022, email Carenado, tell them we need a new airworthiness certificate for the Waco YMF5. I also did some takeoff and landings. I won't show you all of them, but here's a synopsis of how they went. I didn't use just any airport. I went to Waco Field in Troy, Ohio, 1 Whiskey Foxtrot, where the Waco Aircraft Company was born barely over 100 years ago. And as you can see by my takeoff, this aircraft is extremely touchy with the rudder. I ended up doing about 5 takeoff and landings during the filming of this video, and by the 5th one, it was a little bit better than that one, but it did still provide some difficulty. But they did get better over time. I did find the landings to be much less challenging than the takeoffs. On the takeoff, I believe the rudder was just extremely sensitive. The Extra 330 in Flight Sim 2020 is very sensitive. I felt that this was much more sensitive than the Extra 330. But the landings were easier. The only thing I had to be careful of is to not use too much brake and have the nose go over and dig the prop into the ground. And you can see right here with the engine at near idle how much the airplane actually turns with just rudder, which I don't believe that to be realistic at all. So we've done a takeoff, a landing, and we've taxied around on the ground, and it is extremely sensitive on the ground. But how was it in the air? I found it to be a smooth flyer, somewhat sluggish on the controls, but it's not an Extra 300 or an Extra 330. It's an old, heavy, limited aerobatic airplane. And it behaves exactly like I would expect it to behave. Aileron rolls were pretty easy as long as you pitched the nose up high enough before you started the roll. I did do a few loops when I was testing this. It took a lot of airspeed to be able to do a loop successfully. So it does fly really well. The engine sounds are amazing, and as you can see, the textures are just downright incredible on this. They did a phenomenal job with the textures. There are also multiple external views to choose from, like this one right here, which were pretty darn cool. I didn't find very many negatives with this. You can hear the tires skidding on a grass runway. That's not going to happen, but that's getting extremely nitpicky. Overall, I think this thing's fantastic. It was worth the wait. And I suspect most people will probably fly this aircraft during the daytime in good weather, but you can fly it in bad weather, and you can fly it at nighttime. And this is what it looks like. Some of the instruments are dark on certain areas, but in airplanes I've flown throughout the year, smaller general aviation airplanes, it does the exact same thing. There's dark spots on the instruments, and they can sometimes be hard to read. Another neat feature, the aircraft does have fuel gauges, but they're outside on the bottom of the upper wing. You can see the little piston moving up and down. When it's up at the top, it's full. When it's at the bottom like it is now, it's near empty. The Waco does come with 5 different paint schemes. When I was testing this, I did not do any approaches. I don't really intend to do ILS approaches. For me, this is just something to fly around in and just sightsee and have fun with. I think for the price and what you get, it's a good deal, especially if you like older airplanes. If you like newer airplanes with autopilots, this may not be for you. This airplane does not have an autopilot. I was pretty excited when I saw they were making this airplane. I'm glad it's finally here. I had no idea it was coming out today. I just happened to get on Flight Sim today and I saw it was there and bought it, downloaded it, and it was worth the money. So that's my review. I think overall they did a good job with the airplane for the price. I think it's a good deal. I like the sound, the quality of the panel, everything. I like everything about it. The only thing I didn't like was the ground handling, but this is Microsoft Flight Simulator, not Microsoft Drive an Airplane on the Ground Simulator. Thank you for watching.